Hello, welcome back into another edition of Tony Talks Trash About Music. And tonight I'm going to talk about one of my favorite artists, especially in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s, I guess, the end. Elvis Costello, man. Elvis Costello always set me on fire. You know, a lot of people were put off by the Elvis thing to start with. I admit there was a little bit of a trendy thing with the first record that put me off at the beginning, but once I heard the song Allison and I heard I'm not angry anymore. I was okay, I could hear from the rhythm and I could hear from what he was doing that he was a master and he really understood stuff. Uh, Moving through with the attractions, the Stiff Records signing, the Jake Riviera Association, Nick Lowe Association. And speaking of that, that was for me when I've seen him a number of times, but I saw the attractions. I saw the attractions mostly in Shed tours after they'd become a little bit bigger. I never caught any of the shows at the Aquarium Club or the 930 Club or any place like that. Uh, that Before I saw just very very few shows at that point. I was not aware. I was actually pretty sheltered at that point when these things happened. We were still around. We'd go to things that we knew was happening, but in any event, Elvis hit the scene, and it wasn't too long before I realized, with his band, the attractions, how good of musicians they were, number one, two, the complexity of his chords, of his tonal concepts and things really kind of made him stand out. And so, and as a singer, dude, I know he has everybody knows, sometimes he gets revved up. He has a tendency to sometimes stray and just be right under the note, and I've seen some live performances where that's happened before. But to me, one of the thrills of my life, one of the best shows. And when I think of Elvis, I think of live things, and I think of two events. I think one was a solo show he played with Nick Lowe at Georgetown University when King of America came out. And this is, I think, before or right after Blood and Chocolate came out. I thought it was kind of weird he's by himself. And that was when they did the Spin the Wheel later, with one night they had the Confederates and one night they had I saw that up in Philadelphia too, up at the Tower Theater. That was fun. And the Spin the Wheel tour with a gentleman, Mike Haney, which you haven't seen in a long time. He and Susan were former Penguin Feather alumni, but we were all kind of crazy about it at that time. And I seem to remember seeing them there. I'd seen them at some Elvis stuff before, and the other one was the Burt Bacharach thing. I mean, to me, Bacharach's always been like, one of the all-time greats, and to have those two together to me was beyond like a wet dream. I was just there hoping not to disturb the air and hoping because that record, as you'll see, I rank it pretty high. I think it's a really great piece of work, and I'm really disappointed that it didn't have a higher profile than it did. Probably was one of Bacharach's in his later years, one of his higher profiles, that and his inclusion in the Austin Power movie with What's New Pussycat. I think Elvis was in there with him too, I think. Maybe I'm tripping, I don't know. But anyway, what I'm going to do here with this is rather to bore you guys all and go through that. And I do have about half of these records. So a lot of them I don't have. The ones on CD, I have on CD. Some of them I don't have. But what I'm going to do is go through the records quickly by myself, just read through these until we get up to 15. And we get 15, we're going to start looking at the album covers and talking to them in a little bit more detail. Elvis is still performing up to the present day with a great band, essentially the same band he had before. He just replaced Bruce Thomas on bass with the guy with one of the Gallagher brothers from the. I don't mean Oasis. I'm talking about the guys in the West Coast band. What was the name of that band? They had a number of records. I've got a bunch of their records. He's a good musician. He's been around for a while. But it's just funny how all these guys. He had a thing when he's with Jim White for a while and things. I really enjoyed that. I like Jim White's records too. Those are really good. But anyway, let's get started, man. I'm going to start off. I have 33 records that I'm going to be ranking here. I'm going to run through these as fast as I can, and we're going to put them up here on a list. Number 33, the soundtrack to GBH from 1991. Little bit of involvement with them, but not really, kind of a partial thing. Not very interesting to me. It's one of the things that I would say that the completist would have to have, and that would also apply to number 32, Jake's Progress from 1995. Kind of another one of these that you play once and you file away. Both of those two, I wouldn't give a lot. I wouldn't recommend to either of them. They're both probably sub 2.5s there. Kojak Variety will be the 31, 1995. Now, some people might like that. That is a variety of different songs. More or less, what he did with All This Useless Beauty was he put together a record with songs he wrote for other people. This is kind of like songs that came from weird places and different things and B-sides and stuff. Elvis always had a ton of those. And I think I showed you guys on the other video a couple collections of those, like Taking Liberties and Out of Our Idiot, which are just the songs. To me, those are some of the best songs. But I've always been the kind of guy that big fan of the fourth song on the side or whatever. The one that they put, the last one they decided to include. That's just the way I am. I don't know why that is. Number 30, Piano Jazz, 2005, Marie McPartland. 2005, again, listen to it once and filed it. It's in the CDs here. And number 29, to me, is a curious one, North. This is after his Diane Krall marriage. And he put out a record that was like a piano-ish type of songs where he tried to like fit them in a jazz thing. And to me, of all the records I have still marks on my forehead for banging my head on the wall trying to get into this record. To this day, North baffles me. It baffles me. It is so outside the norm of the writing idioms and the writing stylistic things that he does that interest everybody so much. I don't get it. And I would say the same thing about 28, Il Sogno, the classical thing. Bears very little. It's a work of his, a classical work of his. It bears very little resemblance to any of the other stuff. Kind of like in McCartney way, They're geniuses, they're musical genius. They want to try something different just to see how it feels. But obviously it wasn't something he stuck with. He's really the best belting it outside. I think they, for live stuff, I haven't seen him recently, but I've seen some sets and seen some things. And it's, he does still try to lean towards the new stuff sometimes. I just think it's too much of the plain old attraction stuff sometimes can be a hindrance for him. Anyway, 27 for the Stars, the Anne Sophie von Otter, or whatever her name was. Voices don't really match. His and hers don't really match. He's got a very unique voice, and he's got a voice that has certain resonance that has to be captured, especially in the lower resonance in the later days. It almost sounds like a smoker, and I don't think he was, but it sounds like that. Number 26 is going to be a surprise to some people. I never got into it. Wise Up Ghost, man. I am not a fan of it. I tried to get into it. I think it's got some good rhythms to it. But I really feel like it's short on melody. I feel like rhythmically it's exciting. Of course it's going to be exciting. Look at the lineup that you have there. But kind of like the things they did with Todd Rundgren. I just don't feel there's enough melodic direction with it that it's good. There's some things that are good. I like it, but I don't love it. And that was from 2013. Let's go back to 2006. The River in Reverse, the Alan Toussaint collaboration here, the New Orleans thing. Good record. There's a good difference between 25 and 24. 26 and 25. I think things started to get a lot better about 25. There's a marked difference there. Good record. I like it. Some days it would be higher. It's a very spiritual. It's a very gospel oriented. But it's very much Alan Toussaint, the New Orleans pianist, very much in his style, and very much features him like his records. I just picked up one today actually somewhere for somebody didn't know what they had. It was like $3 or something. It's crazy. The records are worth about like $30 or something. But anyway. Number 24, we go to the classical Juliet letters. And I enjoyed this. I like when this record came out in 1993, it was a little bit different. But I kind of enjoyed it. I thought it gave a different perspective to it. And if I'm not mistaken, there were at least a couple performances of that exist. Number 23, The Delivery Man from 2004. Again, I like it. Again, you've got the Jim White, you've got the Louisiana sort of a influence there. I like it. I don't think the songs are strong, are strong with it. Number 22, 2018's Look Now from 2018, which is an interesting one. It was a first number of records. He put out a number of records recently, and I don't know that they sold that well because I saw a lot of them go into cutout. But I think the songs were strong, and I think especially on Boy Named Myth, which is still coming. Here, number 21, I have When I Was Cruel from 2002. Some really good songs here. Uh, you know, I like the harshness of the band. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the end of Bruce Thomas's time, and you can feel some tension on it, but still not in my top things here. Number 20 would be Hey Clock Face from 2020. I think the songs are a little better than Look Now. A couple years later, the band is on the road. Davey Gallagher is a bass player here. I was thinking about. He's well into the band at that point. And so that's where we are with it. Let's go to. We're going to have to. You know what? I think we have an extra record here, so I'm going to have to do a half with you guys. I said I had 33. I had 34 actually. I apologize. Number 19 or number 19 and a half. A Boy Named If. I think that of their new records, I think that is just a slight bit better. I like it about the same as Clockface. Um, it was a lot bolder. It had a lot more energy than the other two. The graphics with the front. They really tried to do something with it, but it's just. I think it's a point where he's kind of timed out as far as the age and stuff goes, and so that's kind of where we at. So that's what we put for that. Number 19, I'm going to put Momofuku. Momofuku is a really nice record. It took me a while. I didn't get it at first. But I just like the music and what's going on. I like the sound of it. I like the drumming on it. Pete Thomas to me really picks up a lot of the meters and the good rhythmic bands from New Orleans and the whole scene. And it really seemed like at that period of time, Elvis really took on like a more the delivery man took on more of a southern feel, and I think he was hanging out with Jim White and uh, uh, Lauderdale, the Louder Jim Lauderdale too, and I think that it fit him. I think it fit where he was coming from. Number 18, we're going to go to Mighty Like a Rose from 1991. Some great songs, really really good, and I hate to leave these ones out here. 17, we're going to go to Secret Profane and Sugarcane from 2009. Again, another one of these records where he was in that period of time that we're just speaking of. The songs, though, in this had a certain sharpness to them, which I really enjoyed and even enjoyed more on some of the others that we'll talk about later. And for number 16, the last one that misses the thing is 1989 Spike. Chewing Gum, those songs. Last Boat Leaving, I think it's a really good record. But great artists like this make more than a few good records. And so what are we going to do? We're going to talk about now the records of top 15. And here we are, and I'll try to get through these first. At number 15 was Elvis's shocking 1981 foray into country music, Almost Blue. This Almost Blue record had covers from Graham Parsons songs, had covers from George Jones, I'm Your Toy, Tonight the Bottle Let Me Down, Brown to Blue, How Much I Lied, What a Good Year for the Roses. That was a single. And I also have here, I think it's interesting to show y'all, I also have this Almost Blue version of Almost Blue where Elvis talks through all the songs. Kind of neat promotional thing. I don't know. I never got to the point where I sold all that stuff. As you can see, I still have a lot of those 12-inch singles left. I've got some of his other singles left, like the Imposter singles and Peace in Our Time and Shipbuilding and things like that. At number 14, here's the other one I was talking about, the Lauderdale and this era, and we're talking about 2010's National Ransom. I think this is a T-Bone Burnett production, of course. T-Bone's done some of his best stuff. Jimmy, Standing in the Rain, Stations of the Cross, Slow Drag with Josephine, Five Small Words with that riff. I Lost You, One Hell Ring, the spell that you cast is just fantastic. It's just a really really innovative record. If any of you are wondering, well, I want to delve back into Elvis. I want to get one of the modern ones. I really think if you're going to get one of the modern records that he's done, and I'm talking about modern post 2000, it's really not modern. It's 20 years, I guess, but this is the one to get, man. This record is really strong. National Ransom from 2010 is number 14 on this Wizard countdown of Elvis Costello. And now let us move into number 13. And it's going to surprise a few of you because this is some of this. I know, remember on the CD, he's putting the liner notes. Now, congratulations, you bought our worst record. It's not the worst record. It's just different. They tried to. This is the second one of when Stanley, right, and of the two of the yeah, Langer and with Stanley record, and they tried to put a little bit more to it. Punch the Clock, it was a little bit more straight before this, but this was one that came out. I was working the record store when it came out. I played this nonstop. I mean, I like The Only Flame in Town, Home Truth, Room with No Number, Worthless Thing, You Worthless. I just loved it. Yeah, Joe Porterhouse, The Great Unknown, Deep Ortiz Club, and his playing the seven chords and screaming. But again, Peace in Our Time, which was the big anti-Churchill, or not anti-Thatcher thing going on Churchill. Looks at me. But anyway, there's a record he said the worst record that we ever made, The Attractions. But to me, it's not. It's the 13th, and I don't know if I'm going to put anything else. Hey, and I've traveled back actually in time to correct something. We checked out the tape, and the tape wasn't exactly right. As number 12, my 12th favorite is one that I actually do not have on vinyl, the only one I do not have on vinyl. And that is a record from 1994 entitled Brutal Youth. Dun, dun, dun. Joe will put it right there. Recorded at the end of December through the beginning of February. I guess most of the record actually was touted as on the reunion tour and everything as a reunion of the Attractions, which it actually was. The record was started with everybody but Bruce Thomas, and Nick Lowe played bass on everything, and had played bass on about half the record. Mitchell Froom and Elvis actually produced this, and then they brought Bruce in and finished it. Strong record, a lot of energy on the record, but surprisingly got really bad. Not that great of reviews in certain places. Kind of Murder I like. 13 Steps Lead Down was a single. Clown Strike, You Tripped at Every Step is one of those things like the Trust type ballads. A walking bass ballad, which is beautiful. London's Brilliant Parade. One of my favorites is My Science Fiction Twin with that do 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 ding do 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 do. I like that too. Strong record, just not quite strong enough to be in my top 10. And so, with that, what I will do is I will tell you that we're headed back to our regular program. Let's go to number 11. We're going to go to the debut here. My Aim Is True. And this is an original stiff, folks. I got an original stiff of this within here. I'm going to show it to you here. Show you guys a little bit here if you want to see this. Very nice. There it is. Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, this is pretty valuable little thing here. So what we're going to do is to keep this here. But this is a 1977 record, and it is my number 11. What do I like about it? Well, of course, I'm not angry. Of course, Angels Want to Wear My Red Shoes. Waiting for the End of the World. Miracle Man. Allison, of course, with its mellow, plaintive, showed he could write songs and kind of foreshadowed the thing with Burt Bacharach. I mean, I don't think without a song like that, you'd probably have near the respect he had, because that song had so much exposure to it. It was a big, big song. Now let's go to 1983, which I was going to do before. And the first one, Stanley Langer production, and I think superior. It took me a while to get into this. Punch the Clock. It's very rhythmic, but the songs are so good, man. Pills and Soap, Invisible Man, Charm School, Mouth Almighty, I love. The Element Within Her. What a great use of language, man. I asked her, is she coach? She says, no, but you are la, 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 la. I mean, just a lyrical thing. Every day I write the book, let them all talk. I love it. I do. It's a great rave up. And I saw this tour, and it was a fantastic tour. And I saw it on the Outside Shed tour, actually. I saw it and I think it was Merriweather. I think so. I think it's one of these. But maybe it was the album after that. I'm not sure. It was summertime, though. I know that. It was a shed show, and that was the first time I'd seen him. 1981's Trust is going to be my number nine. And what an interesting record here. It really shows us a maturity to it. Amazing how much input and how much output he had. 1981, New Lace Sleeves, Whisper to a Scream, the Glenn Tilbrook duet back and forth, Shot with His Own Gun, the plaintive piano ballad with Steve Naive. Big Sister's Clothes, Fish and Chip Paper. You know, there's different versions of that on some of the others. You'll Never Be a Man, Pretty Shoes, Luxembourg, that seventh chord freak out song, rock. Watch Your Step. I mean, it's just a great songwriter, man, with a good band that can interpret and lay it out, man. And that's what makes Trust fantastic and makes it my number 9. Let's go to number 8 here. We're talking about a record that he put out in 1996. And the reason he did put this record out in 1996 was this was songs he wrote for other people. And a lot of it was written for that Wendy James of Transvision Vamp or whatever the name was on her record. And I'm talking about the stellar, totally underrated All This Useless Beauty. And if you can grab a hold of this one, and I think they still may have some in CNC, you ought to, man. Little Adams, All This Useless Beauty, just the maturity of the da 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 da, just the arrangements of the songs, the creativity of the musicians. Distorted Angel, Poor Fractured Atlas, You Bowed Down, the one he did with Roger, he gave to Roger McGuinn, that he put on his Arista record. One of Vanish, Shallow Grave, starting to come to me. This is exquisite, man. This is one of the best, one of the most competent, beautiful, assured records you'll ever see. Wholly underrated. If I'd have a thing of underrated, the most underrated records probably of all time, this may be on the list. There's a couple of them that are probably going to be on the list. But that's going to be my number 8, and that's All This Useless Beauty. Let's go to number 7 here, and I have 2 versions of this. The original, this year's motto, of course, nothing but energy, you know. Side 1 here, no action. This year's Girl, the beat, pump it up, little triggers, you belong to me. What a side. Second side, Lip Service, Living in Paradise, Lipstick, Vogue, Radio, Hand in Hand. Only a couple weak, slower moments with it. Really something else, man. This is the original record, and then here's a Spanish version that came out a year or so ago, where they had all these Spanish models specifically singing this stuff. Who came up with this? I don't know. I don't think it sold really well. Maybe it did. I just think it's very odd. He sometimes has some of the strangest stuff, but this is really a keeper. Great record. Again, I think it better than the first. The band kept getting better. I mean, he had a different band. He had Huey Lewis's band and those guys on the first record, Clover, whatever it's called, on the first record. On the second record, Forward, the Attractions were born, and they were shot out of a freaking spring gun, man. I mean, it just, they hit the ground running, all the records and all the music that they did. A lot of the stuff, I remember Steve Naive, in an interview one time, basically saying, hey, some of that stuff we only played like 1 or 2 times. We don't remember how the songs went. Doesn't surprise me. Sometimes some of the best stuff you have comes like that. Let's go for number 6 to 1986, where we were reaching an emotional pitch. 1986, incredible, Blood and Chocolate. This record, I remember when it came out, this is when the tension was very high between Bruce Thomas and Elvis Costello. Uncomplicated, I Hope You're Happy Now, Tokyo Storm Morning. I Want You, Battered Old Bird, Poor Napoleon. I love Next Time Around is really, really great. Don't Like Honey, Are You Straight or Are You Blind? And that was a song he really liked a lot. Blue Chair, I love. Battered Old Bird, Crimes of Paris, love. Napoleon, love. this time around. So, I Want You's got that Beatles, uh, I Want You. It's kind of got that going. It's got that long form 7-minute thing. If you've never heard it before, it's his voice keeps getting louder and he gets in the middle of it. It's something else. I saw him, like I said, the Georgetown tour right about this and saw some versions of this. I caught every night there, 2 or 3 nights. Unbelievable. Let's get to my number 5 in 1980s jam-packed soul vote. Soul music, man. Soul music. Get happy. It's what it's all about. Can't Stand Up for Falling Down. Black and White World. 5 Gears in Reverse. B movie. Beaten to the Punch. I Stand Accused. Riot Act. God, the versions of Riot Act are great. Love for Tender. The Imposter. Secondary Modern. King Horse. Possession. Clown Time Is Over. New Fidelity. High Fidelity. New Amsterdam. I love this record. This record, me just reading those songs should for anybody. This is one of these that you had on cassette tape and you just played over and over and over. There's not a weak song. Motel Matches, Human Touch, Beaten to the Punch. There's that 7th chord thing he loves to do. But anyway, I'm telling you, this was a very special time, and I'm not going to say the word banger, but dead ringer after dead ringer. How about that? Let's talk now. Let's get down to the truth, and let's get down to some really, really good stuff. And I will talk about 1986 that's incomparable, and people are not going to like this. King of America, dude. Brilliant Mistake, Our Little Angel, Glitter Gulch, Indoor Fireworks, Little Palaces, which I played live. And Little Palaces is about Hershey, Pennsylvania. And white trashism, somewhat. But American Without Tears, Poison Rose, A Big Light, Jacoball Parade, Suit of Light, Sleep with the Just. This went to another level. This is another level of songwriting, another depth of songwriting. When you write songs and you refine them and you get to a point to where you're melodically so strong and so safe, and this fucker's written so many songs, to me it blows my mind that by this point he could be so good that he could refine these in and draw these in, because I'm telling you, this record is, you talk about underrated, man. This is completely underrated. This is one of the great albums of the 80s. I love the record. And we are going to keep it that way. Anyway, I don't know what that we just got a thumbs up from somebody. But anyway, it's one of the great records from the 80s. 1986 is King of America. Let's go to the 90s and what I consider to be his most important collaboration. From 1998, we're talking about Burt Bacharach, and we're talking about Painted from Memory, and this is in the whole other place, man. This, again, is a whole other place. This is hard to get on record, and they might have reissued it by now, but this is the original version where you had to get a limited version. Mine's number 901 there, you can see. But in the darkest place, Toledo, I still have that other girl. This house is empty now. I don't skip a song on this. Tears at the Birthday Party, where they quoted Todd Rundgren. Can we still be friends? Can we still be friends? Or is that the other one? That's the Long Division. I don't know which one of them it is. Such an Unlikely Lovers is just beautiful. With that flugelhorn thing. Sound is beautiful. Painted from Memory is one of the most beautiful. Nelly's da na 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 ba na 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 na. I just think this is so freaking underrated. This is, if you have not heard this record and you said, well, it's just another one of these things, this is manna from heaven, man. This is one of the great things of all time. God Give Me Strength, that song, and the one with the Brian Wilson deal. What's Her Name Today? The Sweetest Punch. I mean, every song on this. This is the vocal performances on this, man, oh man. And like I say, my wife and I went to it, and we didn't get the greatest seats for that show, but it was unforgettable. And so that only really leaves 2. And it's going to have to be 1979's Armed Forces. Why is it Armed Forces? Well, Armed Forces was produced by Nick Lowe. Accidents Will Happen. Senior Service, Oliver's Army, Big Boys, Green Shirt, Party Girl. I mean, it keeps getting better from the, you started the first record, My Aim Is True, then you were on to uh, this year's motto. Now it's Armed Forces and Busybodies, Mood for Nothing, Chemistry Class, Two Little Hitlers, Peace, Love, and Understanding. Just fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. And we have the EP inside too, the live at Hollywood High. I don't know if it's inside here or it's inside the other. Oh, it is inside here. Yep, that comes along with it. And this is an EP with it, not for sale, it says. But if it was for sale, I bought it. So like this. This is a white label promo, but anyway, yeah, man, one of the great records of all time. I mean, this is a life changer. I remember riding around in the summertime with this one. This is one that was just they hit it all right. I mean, everything at the right time. The keyboard, the touch, everything was perfect. And that's going to lead me to one more place. In 1982, it's going to lead me right to Jeff Emmerich and Imperial Bedroom, the engineer of the Beatles, producing the most Beatlesque sounding record probably outside of the Beatles catalog. The production on this, otherworldly. The songs, incredibly inventive, approach from every angle under the sun, from through a pinhole all the way to the huge sky. Beyond Belief, Tears Before Bedtime, Shabby Doll, A Long Honeymoon, Man Out of Time, Almost Blue. The song Almost Blue, and in Every House. But the second side, The Loved Ones, Human Hands, Kid About It, Little Savage, Boy with a Problem, You Little Fool, and Town Crier. The version of Town Crier on this is really kind of symphonic, but there's faster ones. There's a lot quicker ones too. This record is one that is a single piece. The orchestrations on this record were done by Steve Naive, which is really important here. Produced by Jeff Emmerich. Elvis really sat down with him and panned it out and said, "This is what we're going to do with it." And Boy with a Problem has lyrics actually by Chris Difford on the case, which is kind of funny because when you're talking about Glenn Tilbrook, on the other record, Trust, and then Chris Difford puts his hands in this. But this is a special record, again, under license from Riviera Global Record Promotions Incorporated, probably the peak of that stuff. And to me, the peak of this band, and this man will continue to make music forever, and we're all the better for it. You ever get a chance to see him, he's a fantastic live show. I love the guy. I think his imprint is huge. And it's a shame to me in a way he's got to be under this Elvis. It's kind of a secondary thing to this other artist because as far as importance for me, I mean, I love Elvis as a figure and all, but I'm into notes and chords. To me, this is my Elvis here, man. I mean, and I'll say one final thing before I leave you guys. I was fortunate enough to meet this guy on the Spike Tour. When you talked about the Spike Tour, it was the summer of 1989. And I had a Neville Brothers t-shirt on, and I went up to talk to him. And he would not let me go. I mean, he stood there, and we talked about songs. And I was asking him about King of America and all the stuff that I liked from that. And I remember that Julie Panabianca was the representative for Warner Brothers trying to get me to go on and move. And Elvis wouldn't let me. Elvis was telling her no. I want to keep talking to this guy. So I sat there for a while with these other guys, and then I finally went. But the whole gist of the matter was, and I think this is kind of funny, but I guess I was kind of headstrong at that time or whatever, but he wanted my shirt I had on the Neville Brothers. I had a Neville Brothers shirt on, a promotional shirt. And he wanted it bad. And he said, I'll trade you. I'll trade you. You can have any pick from any of my merchandise from any of my things. At the beginning, he was trying to arrange that, and then he pushed it again at the end. I was like, man, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to walk around here and walk over with my fat gut, walk over the stand or whatever, But he was a gentleman. I'm telling you. Some people you meet, other people you meet aren't real. This guy was the nicest. I've met a bunch of people, and some people will let you down. Some people try hard to live up to what they're doing and have a hard time with it. And some are real asses. You heard the Richie Blackmore story, before. But he was the best. I'm telling you, the best. The nicest, most personable, respectful, look in your eyes, humble. And again, that was 1986. That's a long time ago. It was 38 years ago. But I'm telling you what, it was refreshing to know that, you know, somebody in the industry can be like that. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Leave your likes if you would. We would ask you, if you do like it, to like the video, please, and please consider subscribing if you want to subscribe here. Leave your comments below on this. A lot of people love Elvis. There's a lot of big Elvis fans that like different eras, and you know, maybe I need to be a little more educated on some of the later stuff. You know, I have the later stuff kind of bunched up together there in the late teens and 20s. But in any event, thank you guys for tuning in for this. We always appreciate you being along for the ride. Have a good evening. There's a better